Hello everyone and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Terran versus Zerg, where we find ourselves on Blackburn. Spawning right here in the bottom right hand corner of the map, playing with the red Zerg drones from South Korea, we have Rogue. His opponent in the bottom left with the blue Terran SCVs, likewise also from Korea, we are looking at ByuN's main command center. Alrighty. So, this is a longer game of Terran vs. Zerg played in the new multiplayer balance patch. Now, obviously, the patch was primarily meant with Zerg vs. Protoss in mind, but Terran vs. Zerg is certainly not gonna be, certainly not gonna be unaffected. A couple of changes have been made specifically for TVZ as well. Here's the thing, I know that this is a longer game of TVZ, just because I've looked at the replay timer. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm excited to find out exactly what happened here. Because I think both the mid game has changed a little bit, and then also specifically the late game, it should get a pretty significant switch up. So, okay, two changes that don't really affect this matchup all too much. First off, queens, they can no longer transfuse off creep. I mean, that's one of those changes that's very specifically made with Zerg vs. Protoss Queen walks in mind. And then secondly, the Nidus Worm spawns with a little bit more creep in each direction when it pops. I mean, another one of those changes that I guess allow the queens still to be like relatively effective when you put them in a worm and you tunnel them towards the other side of the map, but not as I don't think that's really gonna affect Terran vs. Zerg very much. There's two changes, however, that do affect TVZ. So first off, the effectiveness of drilling claws has been reduced from 0.71 seconds to 1.07 seconds. What that means is that Widow Mines, when they get their drilling claws upgrade, they will not be able to burrow and unburrow as quickly as they could in the past. This is obviously going to affect Terran mid-game, although Terran always has the option to go for a siege tank-based approach when they're playing ByuN rather than a Widow Mine-based approach, and it seems reasonable to me. Secondly, however, the Lurker, another very reasonable change. The Lurker has the exact same value changes. Adaptive Talents, which is the Lurker burrow speed and unburrow speed improvement, has been adjusted from 0.71 seconds to 1.07 seconds as well. Meaning that the Zerg late game is gonna be a little bit different as well. So, in the previous meta, what we used to see was basically Zerg focus on Lurkers as their only late game unit. We didn't really see Ultralisks anymore, we didn't really see Brute Lords anymore either. We saw Infestors and Vipers obviously mixed in, but pretty much all the late game unit compositions for Zerg were based around the Lurker. So, I'm excited to find out exactly how ByuN approaches the mid game in this match, and then how Rogue decides to approach the late game. Because I do think that this is going to be a bit of a shake-up as well. So it's probably going to take a couple of weeks at the very least for people to figure out exactly how they're supposed to be playing. But I can imagine that Zerg overall probably will play a little bit more aggressively, right? So as it is already, I mean in the previous patch I guess, Zerg was getting countered in the late game by most of the Zerg late game units rather were getting countered by the Terran Ghost. And now, I mean the Ghost wasn't adjusted in any way, right? So I can imagine that the Zerg late game is gonna be a little bit flimsier. So I don't really know exactly how this is gonna play out. I can imagine that Rogue might want to focus more on like a mid-game based army himself and maybe play very aggressively in the mid-game. At the very least, that's one of the approaches I've been taking in some of my own games, where I literally go up to like 100 drones and then I just throw army after army after army at the Terran. That seems to be quite effective, but as soon as it gets to the late game, things definitely seem to be a bit more complex. I can imagine that ByuN, yeah, he may very well still produce some of those Widow Mines, but I can imagine he might want to go a little bit heavier on the siege tank instead. Anyhow, we'll find out over the course of the next half hour or so. So, stay tuned. What do we have right here for Mr. ByuN? Just a classical 1-1-1, although not going for any Hellion production. Instead, he's now producing 2 Cyclones. There's a Medevac, okay. There is an Overlord right over here as well for Rogue. Alright, so no scouting info for him. I mean, I guess he's gonna scout 1 Marine? Hello. I think you gotta unload. There's no way there's only 1 Marine in that medevac. Yeah, okay. That was a bit of a misclick right there from ByuN. I think you want to actually hide the Cyclones. Yeah. Try and see if you can not show those until the absolute latest possible moment. That being said, ByuN has already transitioned right now towards the 3rd command center as well. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, we have a Baneling Nest at a very, very safe time, as well as a lair. So I don't think this is going to really deal that much damage, but already a couple of Overlords are being killed. The main problem when you don't open up with Hellions is that usually the creep spread from the Zerg player is going to be, well, at your front door in about 5 minutes from now. Gotta kill that tumor, I think. Okay. Okay, Queen goes down. Overlord goes down. That's the third Ovi. Although that being said, the Zerglings right now are getting a decent wraparound as well, but not enough of them to actually finish the job. ByuN pushing across the map with a very ByuN-esque army, right? Like, who makes, like, 7 Marines and then 2 Cyclones? Alright, and anyways, 1 Marine so far has gone down. Very effective start here, all things considered. Rogue, of course, though, has already got a bigger economy at this stage in the game, so he doesn't really care all too much about losing a couple of those units of his own, but yeah, it's kind of funny. Classic ByuN start. ByuN basically just, I don't know, it feels to me like he just makes a bunch of add-ons and he puts down a bunch of structures and then he just presses whatever button he can actually afford, right? He's like, oh, I can afford Cyclones? I guess I make 2 of them. Now there's Hellions as a follow-up. Obviously, that's not how he plays, by the way. There's definitely more thought to it than that, but I really like this. So it's actually a bio follow-up, but a Hellbat Cyclone-based push with obviously that 1 medevac in the air as well. I think with a 2nd medevac, this could have actually been super dangerous. Anyways, Zerglings right now, okay, getting a nice wraparound. Queens, allowing those Banelings to also close the distance, and that was a perfect cleanup right there by Rogue. Hiding the Lings on the high ground turned out to be the best move. Okay, apparently there was a Liberator produced as well. 0 kills next to its name, though, so yeah, even though I like that start right there for ByuN, he certainly got overwhelmed there, and now Zerg is going to be able to do whatever they like for the foreseeable future. Generally speaking, from here, Terran's not going to be able to move out until 1-1 is done, other than with like maybe a medevac full of Marines or a Liberator or something, but no major pushes here, meaning that Zerg can, well, just keep to these 19 Zerglings if they want to and just produce a ton of drones. So 4th base can't go down because he's blocked himself with a creep tumor. All right, Zerglings will help that drone out, but he will go for the 4th base soon enough. And I wouldn't even be surprised if we see a 5th hatchery coming up as well. This is kind of like a sentry. Kind of like a sentry killing an overlord. There's a Valkyrie out there, very embarrassed about the way that they've treated the Liberator when it comes to air-to-air. Valkyries in StarCraft 1 definitely a little bit more effective. The air-to-air combat always reminds me of it, but yeah, not as great. But 4 OVs so far is actually quite a lot. Rogue right now, forced to make a couple of them. Going into the Baneling speed upgrade, going into the Hydralisk's Den, going into the 1-1 upgrades as well. So, honestly, so far, this looks like a very normal Zerg opener and the one that we've been seeing for the majority of the last couple of years. Ever since Zerg's figured out that the Lurker is very good. I mean, he's not rushing the Lurker, so I guess that's a small adjustment. He's going to go for Hydra upgrades first. So we used to see like Infestation Pit to go straight into a Hive and then a Hydra Den and then into a Lurker Den and then straight into the Lurker upgrades, I guess, for the majority of the last 2 years. Rogue may very well stick around on Hydraling Bane for now. But obviously the Hydra Den always gives you the opportunity to eventually switch to Lurkers as well if you want to, and that's what we've been seeing most of the time over the last couple of months. 4th Command Center coming up here for Mr. ByuN, who instead is... yeah, he's not focusing on Widow Mines at all. He's instead focusing right now on a 2nd factory already, and he's pumping out those siege tanks. He could go for a reactor on the 2nd factory if he wants to start pumping out those Widow Mines 2 at a time. And obviously then use this tech lab right over here to produce the Drilling Claws upgrade. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if ByuN is just gonna like forgo the siege tank play, or sorry, the Widow Mine play entirely and just go straight into siege tanks. And judging by the fact that he's now gone for the +1 weapon upgrades, I think that's exactly what he's doing. Just skip him. Don't make the Widow Mines. It's kind of funny how Zerg players and Protoss players and Terran players work like that. Whenever Blizzard, like, nerfs a unit, even if it's just a slight adjustment, it always seems to me that, like, StarCraft players almost throw, like, a bit of a hissy fit and like, well, you've nerfed the Widow Mine? Well, guess what? I'm not even gonna play them anymore. I don't even really like that unit. Even though it's a very reasonable adjustment. It's the same when, you know, you see Protoss players just refusing to make Void Rays right now because, well, you know, at least I noticed that in myself. Like, you nerfed the Lurker? Guess what? Never making them ever again, Blizzard. And then a couple months later, I realized, you know what? It's really not that big a deal. Anyways, Rogue setting himself up right here for a very, very large roll by. But nice catch right here by ByuN. He sees it in time. That being said, Planetary Fortress not done just yet, although I think this little bio group over here is, yeah, buying enough time as well. So nicely done right there by Terran. Planetary Fortress finishes up at this stage in the game. But you can see, though, that Zerg has been basically left to their own, right? So this is the problem when you, like, lose that early game army for essentially free. Zerg's now sitting at 93 drones. He's gone for the Lurker Den, okay. But basically, Rogue has been primarily holding down the drone button, doing whatever he likes, building whatever bases he likes, adding on whatever hatchery right there, spreading creep like an absolute madman, and keeping that Terran player contained. So far, honestly, Zerg seems to just be playing the way that... yeah, they've always have. I mean, DRG in the GSL Code S yesterday said that he didn't realize that a new patch went live. Look at this, actually. Triple Evo. That's kind of cool. But DRG apparently decided to go for... I didn't see the games, but from what I understand, spoiler alert, I think he decided to go for a Queen March against Protoss, and that he forgot that the new multiplayer patch was live, and, you know, he couldn't transfuse the Queens, and the Queen March failed. So maybe Rogue right here also like, what's the change again for this? I don't know. I guess I'll make lurkers and see how it goes. Anyways, the main reason why that Zerg late game army is a little bit shaky is, of course, because of the ghosts, and those are coming up right now for Mr. ByuN. He's building that Iron Bank as well, adding on triple command center, doing the thing that Mr. Maru has been doing. Very defensively, just kind of allowing the Zerg to do whatever they like, and apparently what Mr. Rogue likes for now is taking that 12 o'clock base already. So Blackburn, you've got, if you draw like a vertical line, right, from right over here all the way down towards the bottom section of the map, the right side of the map is usually the Zergs, I guess in this case, and then the left side of the map would be the Terrans. The problem is that that base at the top and at the bottom, they are contested. So these two players, yeah, they're not going to be able to mine from that. I mean, they're not going to be able to mine from it both at the same time. I mean, technically it's possible, I guess. You could put like a command center over there and a hatchery over there, but usually those two bases are going to be contested. And so far, look at Rogue, just taking both of them. A little bit greedy right here from him, but judging by the way that ByuN is playing so far, it seems that the Terran doesn't really want to move out. Okay, here's a big Zerg push though. Lings and Banes trying to roll forward. Oh my god, well that is a very beautiful entrenched position right here by the Terran player though. Easy cleanup right here for ByuN. Alright, 116 Zerglings right now as a follow-up. Fair enough. Just opening up some supply, I suppose. He didn't want those units anymore anyways. He's got 8 Hydralisks. He's going for Vipers right now. He's going for the Lurker upgrades too, but he hasn't rushed out any of those Lurkers. If Rogue can mine out the 12 o'clock as well as the 6 o'clock base, I mean, ByuN is going to have to trade with some extreme cost efficiency in order to obtain the victory here. Like, honestly, you can't make up for 2 bases worth of deficit. ByuN, though, apparently so far just kind of doing, you know, the new meta. Focusing on his own side of the map. Almost treating this like a campaign mission right now. Just defend against the Zerg for half an hour and see how things go. But I'm a little bit concerned if he doesn't start, you know, contesting those bases at the top and the bottom of the map soon. So there's Lurkers coming up. +2 actually very late right there for the siege tanks. Second armory right now gets built, okay. I think ByuN probably realized it as well. He probably should have started that up. Okay, well at this point, Rogue has spread like 80% of the map with creep. Maybe not 80, but yeah, a good amount. I wish we had like a percentage of the map covered in creep counter. That would be a nice overlay to have. But I would say at least 75%. Yeah. He's just painting the entire map. 92 workers as well, by the way, for ByuN. So ByuN is getting a ridiculous amount of income, too. Alright, here we go. Zerg once again moving forward. That is a ton of Banelings. 66 Banelings right here in total. Banelings are the main counter usually for those ghosts, but the ghosts obviously do have to stop running for those Zerglings and Banelings to catch up. At this point, yeah, he's just running. I love it. Great move right there by ByuN. Getting those units to safety. They sniped one Lurker that was apparently burrowed in the back right there. These traits are absolutely horrid, though, for the, once again, 100+ Zerglings, by the way. But they're really, really bad for Zerg. Look at the minerals lost right here compared to what the Terrans lost so far. Gas, I guess, is a little bit more comparable. Well, then again. Is this what we're gonna do in the new meta? Are we just gonna make 100 Banelings? Because that's what I've been thinking about, right? Like, I play primarily Zerg myself, so I know that I can be a little bit biased in that regard. But I've been thinking, like, what do you do in the late game against Terran? All the units seem to get countered by the Ghost. Brute Lords, Vipers, Lurkers, Infestors, Ultralisks. So I guess you just play a mid-game based army. Here we go. Wave 3. He's just, yeah, he's just rolling the banelings as close to those ghosts as he can. All right, that was better than the first couple, but I mean, that was still a ridiculous amount of Zerg units going down. 100 plus Zerglings as a follow-up once more. Is this really the play, Mr. Rogue? So we're using lurkers mostly as like a defensive tool over here and maybe a little bit of base harassment, but then mostly just sending in wave after wave of unit. I mean, to be fair, against Massling Bane, should you really be going ghosts? Here we go. Rogue. Yeah, all right. Putting the Zerg in Zerg, I guess, right? Like, he's literally Zerging his opponent right here. ByuN is doing an excellent job, though. Trading extremely efficiently so far. I would love to see some medevac drops, though, going down over here, or like some Liberator harassment, or any ways to shut down those bottom and top bases. Because, like, that is where Rogue is really obtaining the victory, right? If this game goes on, it's not so much the inefficient trading that he's doing, it's just the fact that he's, like, simply mining twice as much. Or not twice as much, but, like, significantly more. Anyways, here we go. Wave 4. Ghosts are just running. The ghost running meta? Is that what we're approaching right now? That is such terrible efficiency. 154 banelings have gone down this game. Alright, more Hydroling Bane. At this point, ByuN finally scans the bottom base. He's like, wait a second. Keep in mind, ByuN has still not been able to mine this expo either, right? So, effectively, Rogue has been mining 3 more bases than ByuN. He's creating a nice wall-off over here. Fair enough. 60 more banelings, by the way. I mean... Do you want to get the baneling nerfed, Rogue? Because this is how you get the baneling nerfed. Rogue, by the way, doesn't really care about, like... playing a fun game of StarCraft 2. Like, for example, whenever, like, the Nidus Worm was overpowered or, like, Overlord drops were overpowered, even though Rogue had, like, the best late game in the world at the time, he was just going for just, you know, sheer aggression and whatever it takes to obtain the victory, right? He wasn't interested, or he isn't interested in trying to play a fun game for us. So he must really think that this is the way to play right now. This is one hell of a wall off, though. I like that he left a little bit of space over here as well for, you know, units to funnel through. Look at that. Not gonna break that very easily. I don't think Rogue has any intention. Or sorry, yeah, Rogue has any intention of heading on over there. I think he probably wants to deny this one. I honestly would like to just see more focus on even more siege tanks. 11 siege tanks is nice. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're gonna go up to like 20. It's gonna be a huge chunk of army supply, but obviously they're pretty good. I would love to see some additional mech upgrades though. Yeah, I guess we're getting one of them at a time right now. Maybe even some flyers? Alright, here we go again. The 5th wave of the Zerg Swarm moving in. Look at that spread on the siege tanks though. Brilliant positioning right there for ByuN. Once again, the ghosts are running, but... this is going so bad though for Zerg. The cost efficiency is just... yeah, look at that. I mean, it's not as bad as I thought it would be, but that's a full base of difference right now. So every base is about 10,000 minerals in it, give or take. 8 mineral patches. Some of them have 1,500 minerals, some of them have less. It's about half of them have 1,500, the other half I think have 750 or something. Alright. So, ByuN had to battle for it, give up the lives of many of his Terran units, but he secured the base. I think it's time to leapfrog these units forward, though. I guess the problem is if you put those siege tanks over there, maybe like a planetary in this, like, yeah, I think we need something. Because Rogue is just gonna remax with, like, even more of the same units. Alright, here we go. Zerg Swarm wave number 6. Alright. Would love to see some EMPs right there, but I guess the ghosts are busy running. 3 more Vipers coming up. 108 Zerglings coming up. He would make more, but he's pretty much supply blocked. Alright, 112, 112, 114? Alright, not bad. How many banelings are we gonna make? We've got 1,500 gas. Yeah, just all of it, I guess, huh? Just as many as you can. 40 banelings. The swarmy meta. Alright. To be fair, though, it doesn't seem that ByuN is winning this game. I really can't believe he's playing this passively, though, against a Zerg player who's been, like, heavily out-expending him. I guess... I guess it's fine. I'm not sure. Like, if both players can mine out the entire map, it should be like a rogue win, right? I think? I mean, this siege tank spread is absurd now. Yeah, the bases in the top section of the map aren't very relevant, so here we go once again. Rogue just sending in the skeletons. Send in the skeletons! See as their bones come marching. Okay, sorry. What if I said I'm not like... Okay. That actually worked way better than the previous couple of waves. Here we go, 100 Zerglings again. Maybe it's because a small hit squad of Terran was actually dedicated to killing a base. This one's actually super critical. Never say die. They say when they're dying. Interesting. Alright, so ByuN is actually now broke. ByuN... I don't think I like this approach from ByuN all too much. Like, the main issue is that, like, right now this base is his lifeline. And sure, he's killed an expo from the Zerg player, but guess what? It's like the Hydralisk hit. You kill one base and, like, 3 new ones will appear. Rogue has been left to his own for too long. I'm fairly certain Rogue is just gonna be able to, like, produce too much stuff. So in general, I think passive play should not be promoted in any way, shape, or form in StarCraft 2, right? So one of my main criteria, or one of my main criticisms, rather, of the, you know, the Skytools play is the fact that, like, Zergs will usually sit behind a million Spore Crawlers, and then Protoss is just kind of sitting on their static defense as well, and neither player really wants to move out, right? I think passive play in general should probably be discouraged. And so far, ByuN is doing, like, as little as he needs to. Right? Like, he is well aware of the fact that Zerg doesn't really have the option here to make a late game unit. Because the ghosts will counter them. So he's just kind of sitting there. Anyways, here we go once again. I think Rogue is still winning this, though. You know what? Those blinding clouds are fantastic, but the ghosts still do live, and the majority of the siege tanks do, too. These tanks have just been firing away. Alright. Attempt 4 to get this base up and running. Look at this. Look at this. 18,000 more minerals? Alright, well. Forget about the income. Because ByuN is just about to boost it. As soon as those mules start returning a couple of trips. Alright. That blue income is gonna look nicer and nicer and nicer. There it is. Zerg still has got a ridiculous amount of money, though. And here we go once more. Rogue is just... yeah, swarming the opponent. That's his entire strategy. He does not care about cost efficiency. ByuN is dropping the ball a little bit right now when it comes to that micro, though. Losing a bunch of the ghosts. Alright. Attempt number 5 to get this orbital command in position. Zerg, though, in the meantime, happily mining the bottom base. Finally, we see some counterattack damage with literally 1 Marine. Critical readjustment right there on the Spore Crawler. So wait. We're up, yeah, we're at 300 plus Banelings, 800, nearly 900 Zerglings. That's a lot. Has ByuN even seen the side of the Zerg? Like, ever since that Cyclone Hellion Marine push? No, I don't think so. I can imagine a lot of Zerg players will probably focus again as well on Ling Bane with, like, Muta support. So rather than Hydras. I mean, the Hydras haven't really done anything here, right? They're nice for killing a couple of Medivacs, I suppose, and sniping a few of the Liberators and whatnot, but Mutas are probably going to be superior. Yeah, also significantly harder to play. Plus more gas heavy, so that leaves less gas for banelings. Rogue is starting to dry up, though. Here we go again. Like the 10th wave or so of the Zerg swarm rolling in. Is there enough for Rogue to actually push through this? Because he cannot remax this 100 times again. Once again, a cleanup right here from ByuN. He's now pretty much at, well, not quite half the supply count. But at this point, you can see, yeah, Rogue is starting to struggle. Rogue is out of money. And while he's still mining quite a bit, he's not going to be mining as much as the Terran player is. That is so many mules. That's not even an effective amount of mules, but I guess ByuN doesn't care. He's only got 22 supply caught up right now in SCVs. I think we're gonna just wait until ByuN maxes out, right? Isn't that the move? Because I don't think Rogue can go in again. Can he? I mean, he wants to. ByuN has no intention of pushing forward for the time being. He just wants to spend the money that he's getting right now. So now he's mining about 2 K resources a minute. As far as minerals go. Very ambitious spore crawler. No, not the one that repositioned over there. Alright, now apparently it's the time where Zerg has decided to go for a couple of lurkers. Lurkers will probably be mostly used for defensive play, right? So I think the lurkers have been scouted as well, so additional ghosts are coming up. Only 2 ghosts actually remained. Yeah, okay, so obviously as soon as ghosts are gone, then like the Zerg late game units are a fantastic option. Liberators though, still available too, still a good amount of siege tanks as well. Alright, is he really gonna go in again? Rogue is thinking about it. I like this lurker right here on the high ground. Okay. Nice abduction right there by Rogue. And this base is actually starting to fall. So Terran doesn't have any mining anymore on the other bases, by the way, I'm fairly certain. So... he needs this. He needs this really bad. 12 o'clock base and 6 o'clock base running out. Zerg is running out of money. But I think Terran's running even harder out of money. Abductions, once again. Abductions. Nice moves right here by Rogue, although he does need to burrow those lurkers. Takes a little while longer. Okay, here's the Terran bio army, though, committing, but a lot of the Marines do run to their deaths. Zerglings disjointed from the main Zerg army, so they also get picked off for free. Mistakes from both sides. The Queens can move so far forward, though. Yeah, they're noticeably slower when it comes to the burrow. While this is happening, though, ByuN is mining. I think that's the most important part here. Without Terran mining, I think this game would be as good as over. But as long as he's gathering some of those minerals... Okay, EMPs? EMPs? No EMPs. Why no EMPs? Hello. Okay, Liberator's dealing a lot of damage, though. There's the EMPs on the Queens instead. Okay. Lings and Banes, microing backwards. Marines running out of the main base as well, reinforcing this Terran army. Is ByuN actually doing this? ByuN has mined 2 entire bases less. Rogue is still adding on additional lurkers, though. This is very close. Zerg versus Terran in the new patches. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a while until people will figure out how to play this, I think, but this does seem to me like the most logical approach as well. Obviously, a lot of this to do with map design as well. This would only work better on maps that aren't Blackburn. Like if Terran could mine, you know, their side of the map entirely, and then, you know, Zerg doesn't have these contested bases. I mean, this passive play is probably gonna be better on, like, yeah, most of the other maps. Careful, though, Mr. Okay, once again, nice abduction there. Careful, Mr. ByuN. So at this point, we're talking 14, 13 lurkers versus 2 ghosts. And obviously, that is amazing right here for the Zerg player. Is there enough, though, for the Zerg to clean this up? I think there is. That was a horrible battle right there for ByuN. And eventually, Rogue obtains the victory. Now, I'm fairly certain, though, that at this point, ByuN is thinking to himself, where did that go wrong? I think it went wrong when you lost the ghosts. So what do you do next time? Just do the exact same thing and, you know, don't run the ghosts into the banelings. Like, keep running them away, keep splitting them a little bit better, and eventually, I think if he would have kept the majority of those alive, he would have certainly obtained a victory here. Let me know what your thoughts are on this game down below in the comment section. And while you're at it, also make sure to subscribe so you get notified as soon as future videos go live.